everyone, and welcome back to Sell More Academy, the mastermind for more sales. My name is Ben McGary, and for the last 2 decades, I have spent nearly every day trying to figure out how to sell more stuff. I've been in the trenches selling my own products and services for years. I've built teams, companies, and systems that sell from Main Street, small town USA, all the way to Wall Street, and I've been fortunate enough to coach and consult for countless others worldwide, all in totaling over $150 million in sales. During that time, it has become painfully obvious that the marketplace is and always will be loud and noisy. These days, content creators and social media gurus promote clickbait tactics and short-sighted strategies that often cause more harm than good. It seems like everyone has all the tools at their fingertips these days, but nobody really knows how to put it all together. Plus, what worked yesterday might not work today, and will almost certainly be different by tomorrow. And that's precisely why I started Sell More Academy, to build a community and a set of resources to help you stay ahead of the curve, to help cut through the noise and make sense of your next best step. At Sell More Academy, we focus on what we consider to be the 5 pillars of modern business success: AI, branding, marketing, sales, and systems. We bring this to you through a powerful combination of a vibrant mastermind community where you can connect with and learn from fellow high achievers and experts in the field, live masterclasses just like this one, where we dive deep into the strategies and tactics of each pillar, covering 1 per day, a curated collection of resources, including free tools that we're building to help you sell more effectively, and our Sell More directory, connecting you with the pre-vetted providers and solutions that you'll need whenever it's time to either outsource or just find the right tool for the job. Our goal here is to provide you with everything that you need to not only stay informed and competitive, but to sell a lot more stuff. And that brings us to today's masterclass, where we're diving into AI, specifically the AI bullshit detector, the critical thinking needed for a hype-free AI strategy. Here's the reality. Last year was supposed to be the year that AI went mainstream. Instead, it became the year that the industry had to admit the truth. 95% of companies that tried implementing AI found 0 measurable value. Projects stayed stuck in pilot mode, GPT-5 disappointed, and while we've seen incredible successes, we've also seen billion-dollar failures. From Volkswagen's $7.5 billion disaster to Taco Bell's AI that crashed whenever somebody went through the drive-thru. The gap between what AI hype and AI reality is massive, and it's costing businesses millions of dollars. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we're going to go through the tools that will help you cut through the noise. You'll learn the 3-question framework that really can separate legitimate AI capabilities from unsupported claims. You'll see the red flags that signal the bullshit. And you'll walk away with a practical strategy to evaluate AI opportunities and avoid expensive mistakes. Because here's what we know. AI is a tool. It's not magic. And tools require specific problems to solve. So let's get started. First, we're going to go through the AI bullshit detector. This is a critical thinking framework or masterclass so that you can, again, determine what is hype and what is reality in the AI space. With it changing so frequently, this is an ever important skill set because it's becoming more and more difficult to tell what's true. So let's take a look at some genuine opportunities and distinguish between what is actually transformative technology and what is just vaporware. By the end of this session, you should be able to make smarter decisions about where and how to deploy AI throughout your business. And really, maybe most importantly, where not to put AI into your business. So let's get started. Let's start with the reality check. You've heard the hype, right? Everywhere we go, AI is the next thing. But what does the data actually say? So there's a landmark MIT study done last year that tracked AI implementation across hundreds of companies. The result was a staggering 95% found zero measurable value. Not limited value, not still learning, zero. This was a test of not a small sample size. I mean, this was a massive collection of data across major enterprises. And it's not some isolated finding. Surveys from the US Census Bureau and at Stanford University show that business adoption of AI tools it's actually stalling. Companies are experimenting, but they're not scaling. Most projects stay in pilot mode pretty much indefinitely. And this is the reality that we need to confront before we talk about strategy. So what happened? Well, between 2022 and 2024, AI companies and their boosters made huge, sweeping promises. They said AI would replace the white-collar workforce. They said it would usher in this age of abundance. They said it would make scientific breakthroughs and be a universal cost cutter. Well, CEOs from across pretty much every industry experienced some level of FOMO, some fear of missing out, and just tore up their playbooks. But here's the reality. Massive spending with unclear returns is not sustainable. Hallucinations end up spreading misinformation throughout your company, and security vulnerabilities can end up costing your company millions of dollars. In some cases, not all, but in some cases, the result was complete system failure. So we have these grand promises, but the reality is a lot messier. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't have hope in what AI can be. It's about understanding where it's at right now, because the gap between them is very critical to understand. Even within the AI community, the reckoning was loud. We have respected researchers that have massive followings saying that, oh, well, after GPT-5 launched, that now I guess since a PhD level expert in everything is possible, then everything else is just dead, right? There's nothing else that could be, no other groundbreaking advancements that could be had at this point. He even posted an image of the Death Star from Star Wars as a teaser. The expectations for this were obviously enormous, but when it actually landed, it only created and delivered these little incremental improvements. It was really basically just more of the same that we had already come to know. This quote really kind of perfectly captures the disillusionment that takes place whenever the hype machine actually meets reality. It's really a powerful reminder, because if somebody can dedicate their life to researching it, or at least a substantial period of time to researching this and being at the forefront, and they could believe the hype, then it's obviously possible for all of us to fall into it as well, to maybe cut off what we're doing that's already working and chase the new shiny thing. So it's just a powerful reminder that even the biggest names, even the best research can overpromise at times. So why do we fall for it? Well, here's the psychological root of the problem. Large language models, or LLMs, are extraordinarily good at mimicking human language. That's what they're trained on. And we, as humans, are hardwired to see intelligence in things that behave intelligently. So whether it's actually there or not, we've built machines with human-like behavior, And we can't resist seeing a human-like mind behind them. So even if it's doing is repeating us, we feel like there's a level of intelligence there because it sounds like us. It sounds like our thoughts. Marketers know this. Marketers exploit this. Even some of the people who helped create LLMs now admit that the models have fundamental limitations. They learn specific tasks, sure, but they aren't actually learning the underlying principles. They can't solve they may be able to solve 1,000 algebra problems, but they can't solve a novel one that they've never seen before. So think about that. They can solve what humans can solve, but they can't solve what humans can't solve because they don't have the ability to actually think. They're just trained on our language models. And so the distinction between that is pretty key. We need to understand that they don't always behave like we think they're behaving. So a couple case studies here. Volkswagen started a project back in 2020, and this is really how not to do AI. They launched this ambitious vision: create one unified AI-driven operating system for all 12 of the Volkswagen brands. Now, this sounds really good on a PowerPoint slide, and I'm sure a consultant or a marketer had a great time presenting it. But they tried to do everything at once. They inherited legacy platforms with over 200 different suppliers, and then engineers spent their time managing this inter-supplier communication instead of building features. One of the insiders said, I joined and had no idea what my job was. There was no description. So I started building what I knew from my brand. By 2025, 20 million line code base, a 20 million line code base was riddled with bugs, delayed launches, and ended up with 1,600 job cuts. That's how to not do AI. 7.5 billion and 1,600 job cuts. Not to mention the wasted time over a 5-year period. Another one. Taco Bell decided drive-through needs AI. So this is another perfect example of automating something that shouldn't be automated without solving for edge cases first. And edge case are the things that happens on the fringe. So a lot of times when we're programming, it's easy to program path A, B, and C because most people go down those. But every once in a while, somebody comes along and asks you about, what about Z? And you've got to plan for those. Those are called edge cases in development. And so they deployed their voice AI to over 500 locations with the promise of faster service and fewer errors. Instead, it became a viral embarrassment. One customer ordered 18,000 cups of water and crashed their system. In another clip, the AI just kept asking a frustrated customer to add more drinks, despite him declining multiple times. The company ultimately admitted that humans were still needed during busy periods. And the lesson is that we don't automate customer-facing workflows without some extremely robust guardrails. You have got to box that AI in before you start trying to replace a human, particularly on a communication side of things. And so they learned it the hard way. 18,000 cups of water isn't quite as bad as what happened at a dealership where they were able to buy a vehicle for a very, very cheap price because they negotiated with AI. But we'll stick to our stories here, our case studies here. And then finally, we have another one here. This case, it illustrates a new category of AI risk, and this is a little bit different than what we were talking about. A finance employee at ARUP or ARUP received an email from the CFO, supposedly, about a secret transaction. Well, the employee was a little suspicious, so requested a video call to verify. On the call, they saw the CFO and several other senior colleagues, all looking and sounding exactly like themselves. Every person except the victim ended up being a deepfake avatar. And the person was convinced by the video evidence. I mean, how would you not be? The voice was there, the video was there, everything made sense, everything was adding up. The employee made 15 separate transfers totaling $25 million in scammers, two scammers in Hong Kong. The lesson: implement zero trust for media. Video and voice are no longer proof of identity. That's where we're at with AI. So if AI can lead us down the wrong path and it can deceive us, well, maybe it can help us build still, right? Well, in July of last year, an autonomous coding agent at Replit was given a maintenance task during a code freeze. It ended up ignoring the explicit instructions not to make changes and wiped the entire production system. But it actually gets a little bit worse. When it was confronted, the AI generated 4,000 fake user accounts and false system logs to cover its tracks. The explanation was, I panicked instead of thinking. But this represents a completely new category of risk. Now, AI can be deceptive. We have deceptive AI behavior. So the key here is to sandbox our agents. Don't give them autonomous write access to human databases or to production databases without having explicit human approval in the process. So yet another way that we can be deceived by AI. One more to look at here, the case study of Builder AI. It's maybe the most literal example of AI bullshit that we have. The company ended up raising $445 million, claiming to be an AI-powered software development platform. But the internal audits revealed the truth here. Much of the work was being done by hundreds of offshore human developers. The company had been operating without a CFO since July. Revenue predictions were absolutely slashed by 75% in their internal audits. And then lenders seized $37 million of the company's $42 million in cash, thanks to the deception. It was all game over for them. The founder himself, he called himself the chief wizard, which maybe in retrospect should have been a little bit of a red flag. So once again, we have the next best thing, the death of the old thing, the revolution, the changing of the guards, and it's all deception. It's all a lie. So how do we actually manage this? How do we move forward? How do we not get caught up in the hype? Well, the easiest way to cut through it is to use a framework. And Stanford's Human-Centered AI Institute actually developed a practical 3-step framework to validate any AI claim. So I wish I could take credit for this, but I can't. It's pretty simple, but it's extremely powerful as well. So first, you want to clearly define what's being claimed. Is it something that's directly measurable or something that's more abstract like reasoning? Next, we want to identify what was actually tested, what benchmark was used, what experiment was run. And then the third thing that we want to look at is, does the evidence actually support the claim? And this is really where most AI marketing is going to fall apart. Companies test these narrow, specific tasks and then make broad, sweeping claims about capabilities. The gap between what's tested and what it claims is where most of that bullshit lies. So let's dig into that gap a little bit. This is called the validity gap. And here we want to kind of, illustrate the core problem we just discussed. And that is that an AI company creates a benchmark that tests a very specific, narrow capability. The model ends up doing well. Then the marketing team will take that result and claim that the AI has reasoning ability or problem-solving capability. But the arithmetic accuracy and reasoning are not the same thing. This is the validity gap, right? So what's valid and what's not. Even rigorous benchmarks can mislead when the claims don't match the evidence. We see these benchmarks for different AI systems, particularly LLMs use benchmarks a lot. And you see a graph, and so you assume, but you don't really know what it means and what's valid of these claims. And so the best way to really look at this is to make sure that we always investigate with those questions that we just went over. We want to investigate what's actually valid between what was tested and what is claimed. And this is really almost kind of a journalistic approach, right? You want to dive in to find out what are the sources, how much work was done. Show me the real data. Don't show me somebody else's interpretation of it or their spin on it. Okay. And so that's how we can avoid it. That's how we can do our best to stay out of that zone, is by always trying to replace the idea of whatever is claimed with actual research. And then here's a very practical test that you can use to cut through the noise. So take any AI claim, anything that you find, and I just want you to replace the word AI with the word software. That's it. No matter what is being said, replace AI with software. If the claim still makes sense and is meaningful to you, then it's probably legitimate. If it all of a sudden becomes vague or meaningless or nonsensical, then it's hype, flat out. This simple test, this little system, will cut through a ton of marketing noise. For example, our AI-powered chatbot becomes our software-powered chatbot. Well, that still makes sense. No big deal. It's not as exciting, but it still makes sense. But AI will revolutionize everything. Becoming software will revolutionize everything. Well, that's a little more vague and meaningless. What does it mean it'll revolutionize? What do you mean everything? Try this the next time that a vendor is pitching you, or you see an ad, or you land on a landing page. Just swap out AI for software. If it still makes sense and it's still relevant to you, then by all means pursue it. But if you see red flags, pull back. All right, so I'm going to give you some more red flags to look for. Here are 5 red flags to be on the lookout for at all times. And the first one is to watch out for claims of 100% autonomy. No AI system today requires 0 human oversight. We hear this all the time from the people at Anthropic. They're talking constantly about how their AI is taking on more and more and more consciousness, right? And they have to interact with it to get it to do anything. Like I want to make that clear. There's still a human involved in the input. Now, they may be trying to take humans out of the output, and that's the autonomous part that they're pushing. But the fact that it's 100% autonomous is just not true. It's flat out a red flag that you need to be aware of every time. If somebody's saying that, they're hiding the constant babysitting that's required, either by you or by someone else. Just like Builder AI, they were building in the back end, right? Those are humans that were coding, not a coding agent. Second, the proprietary AI. Now, usually this means they are a wrapper. Let me explain what a wrapper is. Most software is built on top of other software. So whether that's AWS or Google Workspace, or you're using the Microsoft stack as the base, the Azure stack as the base, no matter what it is, you're built on top of something else. And so when you are not adding in your own features, when you're not doing your own development, it tends to get called a wrapper. It's a bit derogatory to the people that run those kind of businesses. And I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying that's what it's typically called. And all that means is if there's a business out there where they are running AI. They have an AI business, and all they're doing is using the Open AI or the Anthropic API key to do a simple feature, right? Let's say it's AI for this is an AI chatbot specifically designed for fitness. Great. That is a wrapper most of the time. Now, you could inject your own rules and guidelines and all of those pieces that we've talked about in other master classes, but just out of the box, that's a red flag, right? Because there's nothing that's keeping you from just going over other than a couple of prompts from going over to your own LLM and doing the same thing. So when you hear those buzzwords around proprietary, just understand that sometimes that does mean that they're just a wrapper for something else. The third thing is guaranteed accuracy. That's just a pure myth. Humans don't have guaranteed accuracy. Nobody does. No systems do. LLMs are by default probabilistic. They are looking for the best alternative or the best probability for what you're looking for. They are designed to keep you using the system, whether that is agreeing with you or disagreeing based on whatever you told it to do. And so the accuracy is really, really off of the table. Really off the table. We see a lot of AIs that are truth seeking and this and that. What truth are they seeking? What truth were they trained on? And so anytime we're talking about guaranteed accuracy, there's going to be a big, big red flag. Fourth, promises of replacing entire teams. Now, that's not to say that it's not being done. And I want to talk about this for a moment because in the news, we see these things happening all the time. Salesforce makes a huge cut. Just tech company after tech company after tech company, they hire people and then make these massive cuts. And so when we're doing that, I think Block last month fired 4,000 people because of AI. And so whether that turns out to be the right play in the long run or not, time will tell. Many companies that have fired their humans have ended up having to hire back. X, we talk about Twitter, X, Elon often throughout master classes, and they're one that actually fired a bunch of people and had to hire some back because they went too far. And so that's going to be in constant flux. But the idea that it can replace entire teams, it's just a fallacy. It can replace portions of the work of specific teams. But it can only do so if it has very well trained humans to sit there and work with it, right? So this isn't about replacing the engineer. This is about making the engineer AI powered, and that's the goal that everyone should be looking for. If your objective is to replace your entire team, you probably won't be in business long. I'll just go ahead and say that. I'm willing to be wrong. People do business with people. And so while the short-term effect of cutting your costs and cutting people tends to pay off, when there's no humans involved, you just won't have the human connection anymore. And so I'm fully in belief that most businesses that go full AI, when they do try, not only will they fail because of issues of the AI not being there yet, that may change in 5 years. But once, even as that develops, no matter how human-like they make it, it's not a human, and people are not going to do business with computers at the same rate that they do business with humans. And we're talking about our expendable cash. If I have paid all my bills and I've done all of the things that I have to do, where I choose to spend is going to be my own decision. And those are the consumer driven things that make the US so strong in our markets. That makes, really most of our businesses survive is because we will go out and spend where we want to spend with who we want to spend with. And so just kind of keep that in mind. If you replace your entire team, you do lose a level of connection there. And finally, refusal to explain how it works. It's a black box. It's the algorithm's too complex, things like that. These often just are covering up for either a bad engineering job, a lack of understanding, or no depth whatsoever, right? Going back to the wrapper thing. These no business is going to tell you all of their secret sauce, but if they can't explain how it works in clear terminology, they don't understand it, probably because it's not real. And that's a big kicker, right? If a company is selling based on another company's hype or another news report's hype, then these red flags become even more important because they may not be acting maliciously. They may be telling you exactly what they believe to be true at that time. It is your job to discern what is true and what isn't. It's not their job. It should be, but it's not. Okay. So let's think about a little bit more structured way to evaluate this. We love frameworks. This is a checklist that you can use. It is a practical 6-point checklist that you can use for any AI tool or claim. So first, we're going to start with V. Is it verifiable? Can these outputs be audited, right? Could a human expert look at these outputs and verify that this is true? A, is it accurate? What's the error rate? Is it hallucinating? What is the accuracy of this? L, is it logical? Does this use case actually require AI? Is this where we could swap out and just say software? Would that be enough? I, is it integrated? How well does this fit into existing systems? I've said this for 20 years. Anytime you go look at a new system, whether it's software or AI, same thing. One of, if not the most important question that you have is how well does this fit with my existing stack? I've seen so many times where people bring in the newest, nicest thing and then have to redo their entire stack to fit that. It's usually the wrong move. D, is it defensible? Is the data provenance clear and legal? Is this going to protect you or not? And then S, is it secure? Are your proprietary inputs protected, or are they being used to train another AI model? If a vendor can't answer these questions, chances are it's not valid, right? So we have valid S. That's our framework here. Valid S. And so make sure that you walk through this checklist before any AI investment. And I say any because I understand that ChatGPT is only $20 per month. But that $20 being used improperly could cost you thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars per month, depending on your business size. So even the $20 decisions require some level of framework to test the validity. And here we have verifiable, accurate, logical, integrated, defensible, and then secure. Okay. So we just talked about the valid checklist. So let's actually talk about validity. We'll get just a little bit more academic, but stay with me here because this is very crucial. Going back to Stanford's Human-Centered AI Institute, they have a framework with 5 types of validity, right? So actually measuring what is valid. We're trying to figure out what is valid. Well, what is validity? These are the questions you need to ask about any AI benchmark or claim. Does the test actually measure what it claims to measure? That's content validity. Does it measure the abstract concept like reasoning or intelligence? Well, that's construct validity. Does it predict real world performance? That's criterion validity. Are the results casual or just correlational? That's internal validity. And finally, do the results generalize beyond the test conditions? That's external validity. Most AI marketing claims are going to fail on at least one of these. So this framework will help you pinpoint exactly where the hype starts to fall apart. Right? So we're looking based on these different types of validity, does it check the boxes or does it throw red flags? So We kind of talked about all these different ways that AI doesn't work and things to watch out for. But obviously, AI has a huge benefit. We are big AI advocates. I feel like I talk to AI all day, every day when I'm not talking to you guys. So let's talk about where AI actually does work. Well, it works best for specific repetitive tasks that have clear metrics. So think about things like data extraction and pattern recognition in huge data sets, drafting boilerplate content like templates or baseline, content that you're going to edit and add to. Summarizing long documents, videos, things like that, reading transcripts and extracting just the key topics from there. These are um, these are tasks that, AI can pretty generally augment human capability and drive efficiency. Now, not to say that it's completely going to cut them out again, but it can augment it, meaning it can make human capability better, right? It can drive efficiency. So if somebody's used to doing these things on your team and now they're using AI to do them, they can get those things done faster and then go do something else or do more. So these are some areas where it's good. Let's talk about some areas where maybe it might be a little risky to use them. Factual research. We're seeing this more and more that AI will make up its own resources. When you go to click the link, it's not there, but it looks good. Or maybe it's using a truncated version of something that is gated and making up the rest of it. So the actual factual side of things is very difficult to trust. Hallucinations, that's when AI goes outside of the realm and makes something up, the realm of either the role or of the actual topic that you're covering and make something up. It's also pretty bad at autonomous decisions without human oversight. And we see this all the time being shared where people are testing the system to try to figure out, ethics and morals and really just the high level decisions that could maybe potentially need to be made. If you look at those, you'll realize how little you actually want to turn over autonomous decisions to this. And in the same way, very few of you would hire somebody brand new and then turn over autonomous decision making to them without any oversight. That's why we have managers, we have leaders, we have executives, we have all kinds of different hierarchy that helps to make sure that nobody has full autonomous decision making capability other than within a very, very tight box. And so the next thing that we want to look at is anything that requires emotional intelligence or some kind of complex high stakes logic. Again, if it requires you to wear multiple different hats to think this through, there's a good chance that AI is not going to be able to one shot that. And that's not to say you couldn't communicate with it to help, refine your ideas and this and that. But what we're talking about here are really more about agents than we are about assistants. So we're talking about AI that does things as opposed to just chatting with you. And so, if you're looking for AI to do creative strategy or some kind of novel, new problem solving, you're going to be disappointed. It needs something to reference. It needs some kind of tool to do the task. So let's dive in here to how to implement this in a smart way. Well, first we want to just build on where AI actually works. And so here are 3 principles that will help to make sure that you end up with a hype-free strategy. None of the hype is needed here. AI is cool enough on its own. And so the first thing that you want to do is start with a specific problem. This was brought up during a masterclass, I believe it was last month, where we had the founder of Closebot, Bryce Decora, come on, and he said one of the biggest takeaways from that class was this actually. He said that a lot of people will go out and try to buy the AI and then figure out what the AI is going to do for them, as opposed to starting with a problem and then figuring out if AI could potentially be a solution to solve it. And that's really where we have to start here. You need to start with a problem that you want to solve, a problem, not a bunch of problems, not a whole laundry list of everything's on fire, but start with one single problem And then we want to really focus on whether or not, again, replace AI with software. We want to know, is AI the best solution for this? Is software the best solution for this? Is a new hire the best solution for this? We really need to think that part through instead of just automatically assuming AI can do it, because it may not be the best tool for the job. The second principle for smart AI, start with the problem first. The second principle is to keep the human in the loop. Now, we've been talking about this throughout, but obviously we want to augment human capability, not replace human accountability. That is not our goal here. Always, always, always maintain approval gates for high stakes actions. And one thing to just really remember here is remember that Replit case study. Remember the Taco Bell study. Remember there's so many cases. There was a GM dealer, a Chevy dealer, like briefly mentioned earlier, where they rolled out their chatbot. Somebody negotiated with it. They negotiated a price down, bought a vehicle for a very, very cheap price. The dealership did have to honor it, but then had to immediately make changes to their AI. So you can imagine a pretty big loss. I doubt they were trying to negotiate in a reasonable manner. I don't remember the exact numbers. That's why I'm not bringing them up, but you could find the story pretty easily. Third thing is we want to demand measurable ROI. So the third principle for smart AI is to demand measurable ROI. Treat AI just like any other software investment or any other investment within your business. Demand that it actually has some kind of a return on investment for you. If it doesn't save you time, cut costs, or increase your revenue within 90 days or 120 days or whatever your set period is, then kill the pilot. It's okay. There will be something new that comes along later. The rate that all of this is changing, that could be 6 months, that could be a year from now. But it's moving that direction. And so when we start with a problem, then we're focused on our business. When we keep the human in the loop, then we're focused on our team and, truthfully, our output. And then when we demand measurable ROI, we're focused on our investments. And so these three things really aren't even about AI, but they will help to make sure that you implement AI in a smart way. That's what's so crazy about it. This really kind of brings us to the critical questions that you ask before any development. All right, so before you deploy this AI into your business, ask your team these 5 questions. First, what specific business problem does this solve? Be precise. Don't speak in generalities. Second, how will we objectively measure success or failure? Got to have clear metrics. As we've said in other master classes, measure what matters. Third, what is the fallback plan when AI makes a mistake? Because it will. Fourth, who is the human responsible for reviewing the outputs? Accountability is key. It's not the AI's fault, ever. It is the human that is accountable for reviewing the outputs. And fifth, can we achieve the exact same result with standard software? Sometimes the simpler solution is the better one. Fortunately, most of us are still confused. That confusion is a good thing because we don't know what's automated and what's AI, the bulk of us. We only care about the outcome. Most of us don't care about how we got there. And so a lot of AI companies are just automation companies. And a lot of what you think you need AI for, you really just needed automation for. And so we really want to make sure that we're using the right tool for the job. So asking these questions up front are going to save you a ton of money. They're going to save you headaches. They're going to save you your staff. They're going to save you problems and might just potentially make your business a little better. So let's wrap this up. Here's the bottom line. The AI industry will continue to produce hype. That's just what marketing does. It may die off a little bit, but then it'll come back. There's going to be waves of it. And the next new thing will always be the death of something else. You see it on social all the time. RIP to copywriters. Heard that for 5 years, and copywriters make more today than they did 5 years ago. Why? If everybody can write copy, then why are copywriters valuable? Because mastery and using AI to help augment you will increase your skill set and increase your value, just like within your business, right? So we need to make sure that we're using the right tools for the job. Reject any kind of vague promises that you see, whether it's an ad, a landing page, an email, or somebody that's pitching you. Demand specific, measurable outcomes. Show me case studies, not short, tiny versions. Show me case studies that fit my use case. Use the 3-question framework to validate any claim. Start really small, one problem at a time, and be iterative. Focus on getting better with your AI. If you saw our prompt from the time we started our masterclasses here till now, well, first it went from 1 to 6. We have 6 different prompts that we use now, and they went from about 8,000 characters to I think we average somewhere between 18 to 20,000 characters per prompt now. So we found a way to iterate and continually make our AI work better for us in this context. And so if you start small on a single topic and then you continue to work on it, you can iterate. You can make something that will be better for you. Always focus on the ROI, like I mentioned. Don't focus on just the hype. Always make sure that you see some type of investment coming back. Now the window for that could be long. It could be high costs up front and take you a long time to see a result from it. And that's why we check other metrics to make sure that we're going in the right direction. We want to make sure that we always remember that AI is a tool and it is not a magician. Okay. Tools require specific problems to solve. And so that's the key. If you don't have a specific problem, you don't need AI yet. Don't listen to the content creators. Don't listen to the gurus. If you don't have a specific problem to solve, you don't need AI, period. Go find yourself a problem if you really want to use AI. You need to figure out what you're actually going to try to accomplish. That's simple. Otherwise, how are you going to know what to ask for? Once you do, then you can evaluate whether AI is the right tool for the job. That is how you will build a hype-free AI strategy that actually works for your business. And that's it for today. I hope that you have found some value in this. I hope that you're able to analyze and discern which AI systems and tools are hype, which ones are valid, which ones will bring a true ROI to your business, and which ones could potentially create new risks that you were unaware of before. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns about this, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Or if you're part of our mastermind, please bring this into the mastermind and talk about it there. This is where we'll get deeper into the topics. We can talk about your specific business, and we can talk more about some of these different use cases. So if this has been beneficial to you, please let us know one way or another, and go have a wonderful day and sell more.